In this video, I would like to tell you a story about my experience with showing up at a supposedly electric vehicle parade. I say supposedly because it's not what I was expecting, so keep watching to find out why.
Let's go KICC.
How did we get here? When electric vehicles started gaining traction in the mid-2010s, I wanted to own one. Perhaps it was the novelty of the technology for me, which continues on to this day. The cost of owning a car like a Tesla Model 3 is a bit prohibitive. And as a techie, I thought, why not just build one locally? There are definitely more benefits in building than just owning, and here are three that I could think of. Removing the illusion of innovation.
Assembly almost done, and it turns out I am the only one with a unique vehicle here.
Kenya is always held in high regard when it comes to innovation in Africa, to the point of earning the title of Silicon Savannah. This term perhaps points to the significant uptake in technology, particularly in the information technology sector, that have seen massive adoption due to affordable internet and handheld devices. Do you see the problem here? It's always software related. For example, I am a self-taught software engineer, for real though. I learned most of what I know on the internet, and I live up to the stereotype of a tech bro. This applies to a lot of Kenyan youth with interest in the information technology sector. And as a byproduct, it also leaves a lot of room for hardware development, particularly in mechanical engineering, which can potentially spark unprecedented growth in the manufacturing industries in the country. One such example is what I am doing by building an electric vehicle startup from the ground up. One recurring theme you will notice about my time at KICC is the fact that most vehicles here are not made locally. And even if they are, they mostly serve two niches. The first is public transport, and the second is package delivery, otherwise known as last mile delivery. So where is the innovation? Point number 2. Inspire a young generation. Building on the first point, the majority of Kenyan mechanical engineers end up in garages fixing cars, planes, or in factories maintaining production lines in the food industry, or maybe in geothermal power plants in places like Olkaria at Hell's Gate. And if I'm wrong, I would be happy to hear your thoughts in the comment sections about this. But let's go back to the point. You're telling me that I should go to mechanical engineering school for 5 good years just to end up in some random factory, never really using my imagination to come up with something new? I think Kenya should be at the forefront of automotive engineering and other major industries in Africa. Our generation of smart young men and women is a force to be reckoned with. We shouldn't squander this opportunity. So I'm doing my part for my nation by choosing to innovate in the automotive space because I'm most interested in building cars. Electric cars, cars that bring out the 9-year-old in a man, cars that make the kids next door want to become Formula One drivers. So, what are you interested in? We shouldn't shatter the dreams of a young mind who wants to get into robotics just because the industries don't exist locally. Why is Kenya buying SGR train cabins from China? Let's build these things locally. All in all, we have to start from somewhere. Manufacturing industries tend to build supporting systems around them. What does that mean? Let's take the example of an electric car. To build one, you need metal factories for raw materials in the body or the chassis of the car. And before that, you need mining operations and a lot of workers. We need tires, for instance, which inspire things like rubber plantations and rubber factories. We need plastic components on the car that could easily come from recycled plastic plants. Do you get my drift? About the story that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I first got wind of this event on the 8th of September 2024 while scrolling on Twitter. This event was organized by the Electric Mobility Association of Kenya, otherwise known as EMAC. By my calculations, I had only 10 days to build this thing, and I had to give it a time buffer to be able to travel between Kilifi and Nairobi to attend the event. I didn't want to go empty-handed either, so shipping it was going to be another challenge in and of itself. You may have noticed that these videos are delayed. I'm currently a one-man show. I think, I shoot, I edit, I weld, I grind and cut all the metal, all while making sure that I don't cause any injury to myself or anyone around me. For now, this is the pace that I can afford. Take a moment to leave a comment if you have any questions and comments. I do read all of them. While you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to help me grow the business. Anyway, we arrived at KICC at around 8 a.m. on the 22nd of September. As I was stepping out of the car to go and check out what the venue was gonna be like before beginning my assembly process, I looked around and a somber mood came over me standing so close to the Parliament building, the grounds where the events of the June 25th will go into the history books for our country. My initial scan of the venue did not reveal any outstanding vehicles. Some pickups here, some Nissan Leafs there, some electric buses of course, and a whole lot of electric motorbikes and bicycles. I much later realized that I traveled all this way with a bias. I came here thinking that this was an electric car meet. At the very least, I expected to find some other vehicle that was custom made. And alas, I was wrong, but not entirely. I found one. It was an old Volkswagen bus that had Nissan Leaf components transplanted into it. The event already had a low bar to me, so this Volkswagen gave me some hope that there's people out there who are doing innovative things. I believed at the time that I had to be the only person with something novel. When I first saw this event online, a friend of mine convinced me to just attend it even if the go-kart wasn't finished. I honestly thought I couldn't make it happen on time, but I agreed to the challenge nonetheless. He gave me sound advice. Just go there with an open mind. And here I was with a bias. While I put the car together, it obviously started pulling a crowd. Some asked what it was, others asked whether it drove, and to each I responded as I took mental notes of the kind of inquiries that I am getting. I had real feedback from the ground, which is good. The ground is always good. By far, the people I had the most conversations with happened to be mechanical engineering students. They lingered the most as well. If you don't know what Formula Student is, it's basically a bunch of students that get together to compete internationally with race cars, entirely funded and built by the teams. So, for example, it would be the University of Nairobi School of Mechanical Engineering versus JKUAT School of Mechanical Engineering. Now, this is kind of an underwhelming explanation for how monumental this task actually is. I learned three things from this experience. The first is the electric mobility industry in Kenya is mostly made up of financiers and lobbyists. I barely found any innovators. In fact, I might have been the only one there if it weren't for the VW, and I have proof of it. I actually think this is a byproduct of the introduction of M-Pesa back in 2007, and 17 years later, as at the posting of this video, every time this innovation conversation comes up, it's always about software systems or fintech, if not M-Pesa itself. Can you imagine how much room there is for innovation into hardware and infrastructure? Point number 2. Students in mechanical engineering school definitely want more for their skills and careers in the near future. The Formula Student program that I mentioned earlier is not just in mechanical engineering and manufacturing. There is material science, there is aerodynamics, there is electronics, there is computer programming and computer engineering as well. There is chemistry in some cases. All these subjects finally come together into practical use in the real world. I hope I inspired some of them, and if you are one of the students or know some people who are interested in these kind of topics, please share this video with them. Show them that we can do complex projects locally. I hope I can give them something to look up to. Then one day, they might just be like Snoop Dogg.
Last but not least, I want to thank me.
Point number 3. As an innovator in the electric mobility industry, I cannot ignore the fact that there is almost no industry. Everything I saw at KICC sounded like a financial institution masked as an electric mobility parade. Just imagine the skills people can learn from putting a whole car together from scratch. 10 days prior to attending this parade, I had never welded anything before. I built my parachute as I fell, and look at how far I've come. You can do it too. And my point is, let's not mask our financial industries as manufacturing industries and call that innovation. What's the point of that? In a future video, you will see this go-kart drive, and I will share with you every lesson that I learned to get to that point. You are invited to join me on this journey of learning, failing, and succeeding. In the next video, I will be finishing up on some welding and painting for the chassis. Until then, subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with the latest from Huskberry Engineering. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.